I appear to have bought myself a tent. The tent was not what I was aiming for, so this little sewing project is about how to turn a tent into something wearable. Hello, it's Icy. Yes, I'm back with another video where I turn a piece of clothing that I have bought into something that fits and is flattering. This was another of the purchases from the fast fashion company that I ordered the vest from. See a previous video. Now, the quality of the material is gorgeous. It's this really interesting kind of waffle weave, I guess it's called. It's beautifully soft. I ordered an extra large because that's my normal size. Did I order extra large or even just large? No, I ordered a large because I thought, oh, that looks like it's cut quite large, quite big even. Looking at the size tiny model on the screen, okay, well, I won't need a very big one. I could comfortably go camping in this thing. It is huge, absolutely massive. So I wanted a pirate shirt, basically. So this has got lovely what's called lantern sleeves. There's a slight amount of give to the waffle weave, I guess it's called, which is very comfortable. It's going to be far too warm for an Australian summer, which is just kicking into now. But it wasn't very expensive, and it saved me from having to set in sleeves and do a whole heap of things. So I've tried it on, as you'll have seen from the picture at the intro, the start. It is ginormous and wildly unflattering, so I need to do a few things. The first step is always just to pin in some shaping around the waist. That's always a general first step, but this one is so big that on its own is not enough. In fact, I wouldn't be able to take enough out from the sides to actually still make it fit, even with material taken out from the sides. So losing about, I don't know, about 3 centimeters on each side. So that's 3, and then on the fold, so 6, so that's 12 centimeters out. It's still wildly too big. So the next step is to get a little more serious. Now, you can't do this necessarily with all tops, so it would really depend on the one that you were trying to modify. But this one, I think I can do. So this has a really wide neck, surprisingly wide for like kind of like one of these Henley style tops. Oh, also, it's got these little round buttons sort of down through like a little bit of a Henley V-neck. These are fake. There's no actual matching buttonholes anywhere, so I will probably just take those off because the brown buttons is not the look I'm going for. However, they are very cute brown buttons, so I will be keeping them. So anyway, super duper wide neck. So I think what I'm going to do is just literally take out down the back about, I don't know, like about 7 centimeters. So I'm just going to pin it so that it's even, like that. Basically pin a 7 centimeter line down the back, probably take it in a little more around the waist at the back as well, because like at my back I like sway in at the back and then kick out from my butt. So if something's fitted more along my spine, it's a lot more flattering. So yeah, I think that's the plan. I'm just gonna pin down there, and then I'm just gonna sew it. At that point, before I make any final cuts, I'll try it on and make sure it looks all right, and then I'll snip off the excess material and zigzag it if it needs to. I don't know if this material is going to fray, but we'll see. So let's get going. Okay, so I've pinned it along the back, maybe a little more than 7 centimeters. We'll see how we go, right? So now we're on to the actual sewing. I'm going to use, I think, a reasonably large stitch because it will, oh dear, what have I done? It'll make it easier to unpick later on if I make a mistake. If I'm worried, I can always go over it with a smaller stitch again later, or just the zigzag will help hold it in place as well. But let's see how this goes. So one little tip here, if you're taking in something like a t-shirt or even just a normal button-through shirt, as long as the arms are okay, if that dimension, so around the shoulder and under the arms is okay, what you can do is you can actually start your seam, oh gosh, this around, like here, on the actual arm seam. So start there and then just continue into the new sort of side seam. That way it should sit nicely with the existing sleeve size. But your experience may vary, but that's my little tip. Okay, first seam's done. I'm gonna go try it on and see what happens. Actually, probably put it on here. Let's see if this is any good, shall we? Hard to tell sitting down though. Okay. I mean, I tried it on with it pinned, so I hope it should be alright. Okay, it feels, I'm gonna have to check in a mirror, feels much better, but I'm gonna check in a mirror and come back. Okay, I think it's okay. It's not fabulously flattering, but I'm wearing over another shirt and there's a whole heap of excess material to cut out of the back. But the main aim was to actually wear this under the vest that I'd made previously, and so then it should look amazing. So next step is to get rid of this material, the excess, maybe put a finishing seam on it, like a zigzag. I'm not sure it needs it, but we'll just take off the excess and then tie it up. Yeah, interesting. Probably can't tell, but there's a slight gather along the seam because this material is kind of, though not completely, stretch in both directions. So it's got a little bit of give on the vertical. It's stretched sideways, but only a little bit of give vertically, but it looks like just enough that it's just maybe not quite sitting flat. So, and also it looks like it might, if I yoinked on it particularly hard, I think I'd break the stitching. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a zigzag on the seam anyway. It's not going to take long. And the other thing I was thinking I might do, though I'll have to have a think about the best way of achieving that, is I'm definitely taking the buttons off, but I'm going to do something instead. I'm wondering if I can achieve some sort of lacing design at the front. Really lean into that pirate look is what I'm saying. But yes, mostly if you're adjusting shirts that are too big for you, almost invariably the sleeve, like the armhole, is also too big. So this one is not, which is quite unusual, and it's because it's designed to be kind of baggy horizontally, but not baggy all over. So if you were in fact adjusting a shirt where the armholes were too big, for example, you might have a men's t-shirt that you were given that you need to make smaller. This happens a bit. Vendorwear is a prime example. Often they do not have women's sizes on offer. So it's like, okay, well, I will have a man's medium and then I will adjust it. If that's the case, you can just continue that seam. Most t-shirts you can actually sew all the way along and then down the side. So I would recommend, if you haven't done it before, is that you pin it first. If you need to, you can always put a running stitch through by hand just to see how it sits. And don't cut off any material until you've tried the thing on. Because you can always unpick, but you can't re-stick. Alright, let's go. Zigzag time. Yeah, this material is not going to fray, so I don't need it to do it for that reason, but I think it will just help with the strength of the seams, so. Okay, so I'm going to do something else here. So we've got this seam at the back, right, with a little fold, which is going to look a little messy. So I think what I'm going to do is just trim off the corners of that extra bit and then just do a quick stitch there to hold it flat before I zigzag the rest. That way at the back of the neck, it'll actually sit neatly as opposed to being kind of like a big visible difference. So. Why can you never find an unpicker when you need one? I should have like 3 of them. So, zigzags are done. Let's just get rid of these buttons. So I'm just having a little think about how I could do lacing. The material, so I could sew buttonholes in. Down, I'd have to reinforce down the neck on either side to put buttonholes in, which I did just cut out 14 centimeters worth of material from this. So I do have room. Oh, actually, do I want to do that? Maybe? They're very small buttons and I'm losing them. Maybe I could put a collar on this. Ooh. Like a nice wide pirate's collar? I might have enough. Probably not, it wouldn't be super well, would it be super wide? If I make it double layer, which would be traditional for a collar, like double thickness, it would not be super wide. But could I get away with it making it single? How is this thing hemmed? Is it hemmed? No, it looks like it's not. It looks like the way they've done this is that, sorry, it's hemmed around the bottom, but all around the neck and down the V at the front is actually, they've made bias binding tape. So they've basically taken a thin strip of the material and then basically overlapped that over the seam to create the neckline. It's actually quite well done. It's for such a cheap shirt. It is actually sewn nicely. Wow, 1 button. 2 buttons not lost out of like 6? I'll find them later. Anyway, so material, as you can see, it's basically see-through that way, so it's not very strong. So if I was going to put kind of neck lacing, I'd have to reinforce all the way around the placket in order to have it not tear out immediately. The other option would be I could sew a bunch of little tiny loops along here, like a series of little loops, and then put the lacing through the loops. But once again, it's a very thin kind of little reinforcing strip it's got here. So if I was going to do that, I would probably once again have to basically make an entire new sort of placket over the whole thing and just make it wider. And then that comes down to how much material I've got to do that with. Heaps, if I'm not trying to put a collar on. If I'm trying to put a collar on, maybe not much. But, oh no, see, I've thought of a problem, or is it? Okay, so I've got that much material. The stretch is this way. That way, there's no stretch, but obviously, in order to put a collar on, I'd need the stretch, like it's on the non-stretch direction. Is that a problem? I mean, maybe, probably not. Okay, so I have enough to go around the collar, but you know, like that long, or that wide, I guess, makes a better collar, but if it's not folded in half, it doesn't actually have enough structure to actually sit nicely. And that way, I think the only way to test is to pin it on and try it out. So interestingly, because I've cut away a bit deeper at the waist, I actually got, like, it's not flat on either side. So what I might do is like literally take advantage of that, I think. So just so the collar will be wider at the back of the neck than at the sides, rather than cutting it all off so it sits parallel. Okay, let's pin this and then I'll try it on and see what happens. So as I'm pinning this, what I'm realizing is if I decide I'm doing this, I've just made my job ever so much harder again. So the bias binding that they've got wrapped around the neckline, which makes it so neat and tidy, if I just sew the collar directly onto that, I'm gonna make the neck really thick and bulky. So to do this properly, really what I need to do is to actually unpick the collar and then, unpick the bias binding around the neck, then put on the collar, and then, ow, oh, spiky, ow! Put the collar back on again, and then possibly finish off the neckline with the removed bias binding. And that means a job that was, honestly, nearly done. Like I could wear this shirt right now, and that would be like, what, half an hour's work total, something like that. Oops. So many pins. Turns from, half an hour work into a massive job. Once again, Icy is unable to do things simply. Ooh, I found another button. I found two. They're on the pin cushion where I couldn't see them. I put them over there. So only 2 more buttons to find again. And about 4 needles or 4 pins. Anyway, that's about the normal sewing for me. Take a job, a simple one, and make it complicated. Alrighty, so that is now sewn on. Pinned on. I have a collar. So let's see, shall we? Very, very, very gently try and put this on. trying not to stab myself. Oh dear. Okay. Right, there we go. Better. Okay, just tuck that away. That's the extra bit of material. Just pin that up there, I think, to keep it out of the way, so it doesn't change the way the thing looks. Same on the other side. And I cannot tell if that looks better or not. Time for a better mirror. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. It has the effect of it looking like a cravat. So if I leave the extra length around like these dangly bits, that's the technical term. If I leave the dangly bits there, they're not quite, oh, they're so close. Almost long enough to kind of like just tie and make a bit of a bow, which means the collar sits high around the neck, looks like a cravat. If you leave it undone, then it also looks fine. In fact, it looks better than fine. And I tried it on with the vest, and it's like, oh yes, that's the look I was after. So, this means I'm doing it the long way. So what happens now is I will unpin it all. So I will have to unpick all of this. Now, that will be an utter pain in the butt because it's been overlocked on. So there's heaps and heaps of thread there. So that will be an absolutely painful thing to do. Worth it. I'm going to have a little think about if there's any way I can sort of fake increase the length of the thing to go around the neck. I've got these tiny scraps from like the sides. I don't think these are sufficient to do anything with it. Yeah, probably not. I'll have a think to see if there's any kind of fancy, tricky, clever ways I can increase how long the thing is. I can certainly I'll take off, unpick that as well, and then ditto on the other end. There's like the hem around the bottom that's left over on the other end. So if I unpin that, that should give me some extra length as well. The thickness, the additional thickness at the back of the neck is not so important. The actual overall length of it is more important. So if I need to kind of, change where that wider section sits, I don't think that's a huge problem. So that's all going to take me a while. So I will leave the recording here and come back with a reveal. So I'm back with the reveal. I'm very pleased. So much more scooped. The whole thing fits so much better. I did unpick all of the neckline, so the binding around the neckline. Then I took that and cut it into eighths so I could expand the length of the collar. I don't think it actually quite works. It's okay. I'm using like a little clip kind of to hold it together. It's not quite long enough to tie, but sitting out, it's kind of got this kind of interesting, like relaxed bow tie vibe, which is very good. So I'm pleased with how the sleeves look. It's very comfortable. It'll be really nice to wear in winter in about 6 months. But with the vest, the whole thing looks just awesome. I'm so pleased with how the look together sits. With the necktie done up as well, looks great. Even like if I had a tie, there's not a collar I could wear a tie with, but could pull off a cravat should be an option. So this is pretty much the look I was going for. Trim waist, floaty lantern sleeves. I love it. So that's my pirate shirt adjustment. I'm very happy. It's come together really well. Yes, I turned a half-hour sewing job into something that took, I don't know, 90 minutes, hour and a half, something like that. But that's just the way it goes. And then I'm going to spend another 15-20 minutes editing the videos together and making thumbnails because I can't help myself. Anyway, do you like it? Let me know in the comments. Have any of these sewing tips been helpful? If there's anything you do want to know about sewing, let me know as well. Come follow me over on twitch.tv/ICYIC, where I stream games 4 days a week and don't talk about sewing. Very rarely. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.